Marc.
Good morning, you great, big, beautiful zombie apocalypse, you.
I'm sorry, is that you, Bex?
Yes, it is, you wonderful, crazy man, you.
Okay. What the fuck is going on? Where's Bex? Celine, have you demoned yourself into Bex? Are you inside Bex? Better get the fuck out of Bex right now.
No, it's me, you idiot. You're such an idiot.
Oh, I mean, it is you.
Of course it's me.
What's happened? Why are you so happy? Have you won the zombie apocalypse lottery or something?
No, do you know what, right? I just thought I'd make some life changes last week. You know, you were all cheerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you fucking cunt. But, you know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I stopped focusing on the death, the hunger, the daily struggle. Life would be a bit more pleasant. I think I need to get my PMA on, my positive mental attitude.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the spirit. I think we've got this. You know, so far we've been going well. We've got, I think we've got a hold of the apocalypse right now. So nothing is holding us back. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, for all we know, we could be at the start of something truly amazing. Mm-hmm. The demons we've met so far seem more reasonable than the zombies, in my opinion.
Considerably less bitey, from my experience.
Yeah, less bitey. Unless you want them to bite you, and then they're quite happy to oblige. But, so I think we should just keep doing what we're doing. We could be the ones who bring about some real change. Who says just because Satan himself is running the show that everything's got to go to hell, right?
Well, actually, I think that's exactly what he means, but... Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we just keep talking to people, interviewing people, talking to the best humanity has to offer, maybe we can change something.
Oh, that would be nice if we could. Be nice.
You don't seem too sure.
Oh,
get on board. You don't seem too sure. Get on board.
I know. I've got to be honest with you, Bex. Is humanity really worth saving? I mean, look. Most people can be right proper dicks. I'm not even sure people are that bothered anymore, about not being dicks. I think they're just quite happy being dicks. They're just, content in their dickedness. Some of them, I don't even think they're trying anymore. They're not trying to not be. They just are dicks and they're happy in that dickishness. I
mean, yeah. A lot of them can be dicks.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, kind of. But some of the people we spoke to are pretty fucking amazing. You've got to admit that. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of a nice thing to say, really, Bex, isn't it? Are you sure it's really you?
Of course it's really me, you fucking twat. Look, all I'm saying is let's worry about the good people, let the dicks be dicks. If they want the world to burn, then let them, because, we're doing our thing here, and if there's enough of us, well, the world can't burn, can it?
Very nicely put, Bex, very nice.
So what the fuck are we doing this week then, knobhead?
Back to normal.
Knobhead.
The same thing we do every week, Bex. We talk shit on the internet and interview people.
Awesome. I can do that. So who are we interviewing this week?
And we have a huge star this week. A literary giant. A decent human being of the highest standard.
Alright, so who?
Oh, okay. It's the author of the #1 zombie book of the decade, according to Barnes & Noble, Rhiannon Frater.
Awesome. Wonderful writer. Can't wait.
I know. Let's get on with it then. So this week our guest is the superstar of zombie fiction. It is the wonderful author, Rhiannon Frater. Hello, Rhiannon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We're glad you're okay. So how are you surviving in the zombie apocalypse, Rhiannon? Great name, by the way. Love it. Have you got family, supplies, weapons? It reminds me of Fleetwood Mac, you see.
I'm in Texas. I'm fine. We got guns, wide open spaces, and lots of barbed wire fences, and we're good.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of guests that have been from the kind of south of America, and they do seem to be doing much better than some of our other guests that we've had on, I think.
Well,
especially the British guests.
Well, Houston's foobarred. I mean, Houston's just way too many people. They're gone. But the rest of Texas is just like, zombies showed up. Everyone just pulled out their guns. So,
Carried on as normal. Yeah. That's what exactly
yeah,
what we're
pretty
saying.
much. You just gotta, when you drop the kids off at school, my brothers have to be just a little extra, but the kids are packing, so it's fine.
Amazing. So, Rhiannon, obviously, you're a very successful writer. In fact, obviously, you've released over 20 books, which is amazing. But I mean, a lot of our guests on our podcast are authors, zombie authors. They seem to survive the zombie apocalypse a lot better than sort of regular people, obviously because of all the research they've done. I think that's.
No, that's not why. It's because we never leave our houses. So when the outbreaks happen, we're at home writing. Oh,
that
there's
makes sense.
A zombie outbreak. Oh, okay, all right, got it.
We're just putting it down to preparation, but obviously it's because you
No.
kind of live in bunkers anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. We're just. We're just trapped in our homes drinking and just, we eventually flip on the TV and go, okay.
Oh,
That's
that
why
makes
the
sense.
neighbor was screaming. Okay, that makes right. Got it.
So what did you do before you started your writing career? I mean, because we only know you from your successful writing career. That's where you come to our knowledge. But I mean, what did you do before then?
A lot of weird stuff. No, not really. I was like really boring career, really, in a way. Well, I did the gig at the big department, at the department store, discount department store, which is Walmart, which, you get to get a really good, bird's eye view of humanity. And then let me see. Then when we moved, I ended up working for a water conservation company, and then after that I worked for a governmental consultant firm, and that's where I really got a lot of inspiration, because we worked on federal grants for housing, which was basically going into rural Texas and helping cities and counties. Well, first we'd help them apply for the program, and then we'd actually help them implement the program. And the program was aimed at preserving communities, smaller communities. And so let's say you're a 65-year-old man who's worked your whole life and you're living on Social Security and a very small pension, and you've owned your home for 40 years, but it's, starting to fall apart and stuff. It benefits the town if that house is redone, remade, rebuilt. So then his children can inherit it.
Yeah.
And then they stay in the town instead of moving out. So there was things like, it was for the disabled, the elderly, but we also did disaster grants. So I went into areas that literally looked like post-apocalyptic, because it looked like a bomb had gone off.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of people don't, a lot of people think of Katrina, but we got hit really hard by Rita. Rita missed Houston, and when it missed Houston, everyone went, oh, we're safe. No, it came onshore near Sabine Pass, Texas, and it just plowed through that area and just flattened it. And in fact, so we went in there and we helped rebuild all those houses. So I talked to people who had actually, like long before my experience with the post-apocalypse, people who had been through situations that were absolutely life-changing, where they had trees cutting their houses in half, and FEMA was saying, well, pick a side of the house to live in, And so, but we also, I also got to talk to people who talked about, complete strangers bringing food and water or taking them into their home, or complete strangers, pulling debris off of homes looking for survivors, or searching for someone's dog or a cat, or, I talked to people who had survived literally seeing a tornado of fire when a wildfire spread through their town, going through their town, just setting everything on fire from a hilltop with the rest of the town. So I got to talk to all these different people, and they told me their survival stories. And the thing that I noticed over and over again was about 95% of them were extremely positive. Like when things went down, people were there for each other. So I don't know if that's just a Texas thing or a people thing. I suspect it's a people thing, but it made me really proud to be Texan, and it had a huge influence on the As the World Dies trilogy.
I can I can well imagine, actually. I mean, as you're talking there, you're sort of. I mean, we're very lucky in the UK that we're pretty much disaster free. We don't have so much of that. The biggest disaster is when we run out of tea. But the rest of the time we're pretty good. But as I'm listening to your story there, your words are sort of creating emotions and images in your mind, and I imagine as a writer that's just fuel to the fire, isn't it?
It is, and I mean, it's a when you go into these towns after a disaster happens and you're seeing the resiliency of community and the human spirit, and a lot of these, I mean seriously, like some of these people had nothing and they're saying to me, would you like me to go get you a taco? Would you like a soda?
Amazing.
Things like that. I mean, and I had people, I mean, and people always said to me, well, I bet everyone's real entitled and trying to get a free house. And you gotta understand, this is for the poorest of the poor. And these are people that actually owned a home and were the poorest of the poor and disabled usually and elderly. And I swear, we usually had to talk them into it. We had to call their pastor. The mayor had to come in and talk to them. Sometimes the city council had to talk to them. Their kids would be begging them and they'd be like, no, I'm not taking anything from the government. I've worked my whole life. I'm not going to take anything from the government. And we would be like, did you pay taxes? And they'd be like, yeah, I always paid my taxes. I pay my taxes on time. I'm like, okay, you've been paying your taxes for 45 years, your entire working life. Just look at that. This is you getting your investment back, And then, we built homes for, I remember one particular gentleman was a veteran and he had the cutest little dog, and the community got together and helped decorate his house, and they gave him a chair to sit in, and his little dog got a chair to sit in. He lived in the house for about a year before he passed. And then his family, his daughter and her husband, who had fallen on bad luck because of the recession at the time, they moved into the home with their children. So that was us seeing the program in effect. So that had a huge impact on me. So that's why As the World Dies is all about rebuilding in the apocalypse. It's finding that this is the new norm. We're building a new community. We're building a new life. We're building our walls. We're building our homes. We're going to find a way to keep going. It's that pioneer spirit that I got to see a lot of. So, yeah, I mean, huge.
I mean, that's such a lovely, and I mean, it must have been such a rewarding job that you did. I mean, what made you change career paths? And
it wasn't for me. In the end, it was really hard because I would be gone a lot at times from my husband, and I also I just was always supposed to be a writer, and it was exhausting for me to try and do this extremely emotionally rewarding but sometimes very emotionally difficult job and then go home and write. I mean, the reason why As the World Dies got written was because I was on the road so much and I was trapped in places with no internet. So I was there on my little laptop writing. But in the end, new people come in with new ideas and they will abolish programs. So the program I was actually worked on became almost unmanageable for a while. It couldn't really be implemented, and then it got better later on. But it was just there's an insecurity there that you don't know what's going to remain, if it's going to still be there, in a year. So that's not really a place that I wanted to build any kind of career, because I did see I did see the instability of working for the federal government. What if those federal programs go away? Then what happens to the division in your company and things like that? So. Yeah, I mean, it was really great, and I worked for a really wonderful company and lovely people, and I was very blessed to be there. But when I got the opportunity to jump, I jumped. So, no regrets.
Yeah, so you, even from a young age, you're like destined to be a writer. Was that all, even though you were doing this like amazing thing, in the back of your head, you're just like, I'm just totally a writer here?
This is what's going to piss people off when they hear this. I always knew I was going to be a writer. I mean, like, from the moment I found out what a book was, my mom used to tell me these stories that when I was like 3, they gave me a bin of these horrible I still remember those plastic wigs. They're not, I didn't have fancy play clothes like they have today. Back in the day, it was old clothes from grandma, and they had these horrible Halloween not masks, but wigs, basically like a plastic helmet over your head.
Yeah.
And somebody had given me these things, and I would go into the closet with this bin and come out as a new character and tell my mom these fabulous stories of from being all over the world and accents, and she thought she said I was a great storyteller, but she thought I was leaning toward acting. But the thing was, once I knew what words were, I knew that was where I was going. And so I always knew I was going to be a writer. And in I hate saying this because people always think I'm being pretentious, but it's actually the truth. I knew I was going to be published by a big publisher. I knew I was going to have books on the shelves. I knew I was going to be able to walk into a bookstore and see my books. I knew I was going to do book signings, and I knew people were going to be reading my writing. I just had no idea how to get there. I had no idea how to make it happen. I knew it was going to happen, but I had no idea how I was going to get there.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, we've spoke to quite a few authors now on here, haven't we? And everybody has a similar story that is pretty much the opposite to what you just said there. It's normally I had no idea I was going to be a writer. My career changed. I wrote a book. It was successful, and then it went from there.
It's been in my blood. It's been in my blood for a long time.
I mean, it's incredible. A lot of writers I speak to anyway, don't intend to be a writer. It's just, it works out for them, and that's the way they go forward. I mean, I can really sort of relate to what you're saying there. I can understand what you're saying about obviously words being a passion for you, and obviously, from a young age, you just feel like it's in your blood. I mean, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot. I wasn't what's the proper word? I wasn't dissuaded either when I was from a young age. My mother was actually very encouraging because my mother felt it too. And she saw me writing an entire book by the age of 10. Yes, it was fan fiction, science fiction. It was fan fiction of like the TV series or something. But when she saw me finish a book, and it was book length, and it was actually cohesive with good characterization and stuff, and it was writing above my age, she was like, okay, this is going to happen for this kid. She gave me a typewriter. I mean, she just supported me through everything, but she too felt it, but she just couldn't imagine how I was going to get there. She didn't know how I was going to achieve it. And so, and then as I got older, then people kept telling me it was an impossibility, that it wasn't going to happen, that people who actually wrote for a living, that was very rare, and getting published is so hard, and I should try and go get a real job. So, and then, I was a teenager living in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and this is pre-internet days, with outdated information at my library. So I did everything wrong, trying to get published. I did everything wrong. So I quit for a long time, and it wasn't until I was 35 that I said to my husband, I'm like, I got to make this happen. And he goes, yeah, I agree with you 100%. You're supposed to be a writer. You are supposed to be a writer. And then he just got right behind me. And then by my 40th birthday, I had the contract with Tor. So, I mean, but my way to a contract with Tor, 3-book contract with Tor, was because I self-published. And a lot of that had to do with my husband kind of going, hey, there's this new thing that's happening. It's called, it's self-publishing. And in my head, I was like Vanity Press, which was a ripoff back in the day. And he goes, no, you don't understand. It's this whole new thing. And he showed it to me. And I thought, well, why not? I'd written this really popular online story, As the World Dies, had 100,000 hits, and then the counter reset. So I knew people were reading it. So I'm like, well, why not? Why don't we do this? And we did it. And then it got optioned for a film. And then, because it got optioned for a film, I need an entertainment lawyer. Then the entertainment lawyer is like, well, you need an agent. So then he helped me get an agent. And then the agent's like, well, let's sell these books. And then I ended up with a Tor deal. So it ended up this whole, this path was completely not the path I would have thought would happen, but that's what happened. I mean, it's just like it kind of went all ass backwards, but it all makes sense if you know anything about me. I just kind of things. I remember one time somebody said to me, one of my best friends said to me, it was sheer chaos before my wedding because I'd forgotten my veil, and some friends had run back to the place to get my veil, and everything was kind of crazy. And I was really calm, and she goes, well, she's calm because she's used to the crazy. If she was going normally, she would be freaking out, but because everything's going wrong, she's fine. So that's kind of how I operate.
That's exactly. I mean, I was going to say, it sounds like the complete arse backwards story that most writers tell us. It's
Really, yeah, that's the norm for me. It's kind of crazy, and I stumbled in. I mean, I never would have thought I'd be a horror writer either. You can understand, I was I was a little scared of everything because though my mother was an angel, my father was a devil, and I grew up in a very abusive, dysfunctional home. So my writing was an outlet, an escape, and it took a very long time for us to escape him. And so, it's just the way things work out for me is not the norm, and I've kind of gotten used to that over my life. But I think also because writing was so important to me when I was growing up, that's another reason why I just never gave up on that particular. I just always believed it would happen. Even when I gave up, I was like, I'm going to come back around, and somehow things are going to happen. So.
Well, I mean, you were saying that you're scared of everything, and you run about not wanting to write horror when you were small, but obviously horror is where your heart lies. You've written all these horror books, and they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, but would you ever consider kind of branching out and writing something completely different to the horror genre, or are you comfortable in this now?
My muse is sharp-toothed and clawed. I mean, she's a scary bitch. It's really weird. I mean, I when I was growing up, I really thought I was going to be a mystery writer because I loved, all my influences, if I were to talk about my influence, like Agatha Christie was one of the major influences on my life. And then I would have guessed maybe gothic romance or, because I really loved the Bronte sisters and stuff. I had a great love of classical literature, but I would have, at one point in my life, I would have thought I thought I was going to grow out of the science fiction stuff and just be a mystery writer. I was going to be Dick Francis or something, and what ended up happening was my love of science fiction never waned, but the ideas that kept coming to me were definitely scary. They were, once I got out of the fan fiction stage of my writing, I was deep into monsters, and I couldn't figure out where this was coming from, and it kind of freaked me out. And I mean, because I was a scaredy cat, and I didn't read my first horror novel till I was like in my teens, and I didn't watch scary movies growing up really. But I kind of started writing, and once I started writing about the monsters, I found a comfort zone. I really liked it, and because you can understand, Texas is huge, but the United States is even bigger. My grandfather on my mother's side, who was also an Frater, he lived in Ohio, so my time seeing him growing up was actually very limited, and he died when I was young. But my mother told me one day, I was like, I don't know why I keep writing about monsters. She goes, I find it very interesting because your grandfather loved horror. He's like, he loved all the scary movies, he loved scary books, he loved going to, every time they re-released Dracula with Bela Lugosi into the theaters, he'd go see it. This before, they were, there was VHS and everything. He would always make a point of going to see the re-release of Dracula. He loved monsters, and I know he would have loved my books. So I think I kind of inherited it from him. So
it's most definitely in your blood, isn't it? Horror.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. That's the same with me, to be honest. So.
But he never talked to me about it or anything. It's not like a conversation we had. It's not like he showed me anything that was scary or anything. It's just I inherited it from him, and I think he would have really loved my books. So it makes me, I feel like I got it from him. So, it's good. It's all good.
You're making him proud.
Yeah.
So I've got a question, and this is to a certain extent a reflection of our last series of our podcast, which was okay but not great. We had a lot of male authors on. We had lots of men authors, and we had one woman. We only had one woman, so we only had one chance to talk about female characters. And we did talk about female characters to a certain extent. It was Jamie Jonassy, by the way, who was our one female author, and we spoke about female characters to a certain extent. But the reason that we wanted you on our podcast, you specifically, is because you are probably the person who is most well known for your female characters in horror books. So my question to you is, how have female characters changed over the years in terms of horror? I mean, we have our sort of in our minds the sort of Jamie Lee Curtises of the world, and then we sort of step up and we move from there. But how have they changed over the decades, and how have you changed the female characters of horror?
Well, I think that's one of the things about being a female writer in this genre, and I would call myself speculative fiction because I do also do science fiction and I've done some YA. But when you're working in speculative fiction, and even my science fiction stuff has really scary elements to it, you become very aware of the tropes, especially as a woman. You are aware of the final girl trope. You're aware of the slut trope. You're aware of the sacrificial virgin trope.
Yep.
I mean, so you become very aware, and it's like when you watch horror movies, you kind of, I mean, and one of the things that I don't like to watch is slasher films,
Yeah.
or torture porn films, because I feel like a lot of times the deaths of the women are sexualized, even.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's straight up them being murdered, the way they shoot it is in a very sexual manner.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I was very aware of in horror, but at the same time, horror is giving some of the best, female characters around. I mean, we have Ripley, from Alien, and you said Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, she's great in the Halloween movies, which I actually did see, because I wanted to see the classics.
Sure.
So I mean, we had seen where there was good female characters, but when you got into the zombie genre, and you got to understand, I wrote As the World Dies in 2005. And when I got into the zombie genre, one of the things I noticed almost immediately and there was hardly any books out at the time, and a lot of the fan fiction, or a lot of the fiction that was growing up, I don't want to really call it fan fiction because a lot of it was original works, was the lone gunman, usually former military or police or deputy sheriff or something, was going across the zombie apocalypse or the apocalyptic world, and whenever he encountered a woman, she was needy, she was in desperate need of help, or she was the vixen who was going to betray him, and he was going to sacrifice her to the zombies. So there was all these tropes, and the one thing I noticed consistently was women were not portrayed in a very positive manner. Yet I am surrounded by powerful, intelligent women who would fight for their children. They would fight for their husbands. They would fight for their parents. They would fight for their lives. And that seems so weird to me that this was not in these books. I remember reading one short story where every single woman was a stereotype, and in the end, the guy was this lone survivor again. Yet there was, so when I started writing As the World Dies, I did what comes naturally to me. I wrote about women because all my fiction has always been centered around women. I wrote Tiny Fingers, which is the opening to The First Days, which I've been told is the most chilling opening scene of any horror book most people have read. And I admit it's pretty freaking scary. You can go to my website and there's a link to the first chapter. You can read it there. And I posted it online, and I got slammed by the male authors.
Right.
Slammed. I mean, their response was just oh my God, it's so dumb. I mean, what'd she do? Why'd she, they just were making all these derogatory comments about my characters and about me. And I felt like crap because these were guys that I actually thought that were good writers on this particular forum. And then I got a whole bunch of messages, just personal messages. Oh, please keep going. I really loved it. It was really good. It was both from men and women. Now, they weren't speaking out on the forum itself because these guys that were responding were very popular, but they were telling me privately. So I just kept posting, and I took a lot of freaking hard hits. I mean, what's a girl doing writing zombies? What are the characters gonna do? Are they just gonna sit around and cry all the time? I mean, it was just nonstop. And in a way, I got close to almost quitting because it was really painful. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going because I love these characters and I want to take them somewhere. So I kept at it. The abuse died down after about 6 months. And then I finished the story up in about 2 years. And that was like when I was traveling and stuff. And when I finished, it was the equivalent of 4 books, actually, that got done condensed down to 3. So but later on, a couple of years later, I had a guy contact me, and he said to me, the reason why I was so mean to you was because I didn't want you to write. And he says, and the reason why I didn't want to write,
they were threatened.
He says, was when I read that first opening scene, he says, the emotions you elicit in me intimidated me. He says, I felt like crying, and I felt like my writing doesn't do that, and I wanted you to shut up. And he's like, and I'm really sorry. He's like, and I'm so glad you're being successful now. So the reason why I wrote about female protagonists, because 1, I'm a woman. 2, the women in most of these fiction books seem nothing like the women I know in real life. They were, it's like you have like the mother character, and she's all nurturing and loving, but that's all she is. Or you have, the vixen, and that's all she is. Or the ingenue, and so I wanted to write well-developed, complex, and not always easy to like women, and that's why I did it. the way I've seen female characters change in fiction, I think after what I did and what I wrote, a lot of women were inspired to come after me and start writing too. I think I have had women tell me that I influenced them to write. One woman told me I influenced her to write because she hated my female characters and she wanted to do something different.
Well,
so I was, you know what?
I mean, I'm so glad that you didn't let the abuse get to you and you carried on writing. But then, you know, strong women don't let the abuse get to them. So big thumbs up from me.
Well, I mean, it's funny because, you know, you would think that women who deal with some of the hardest parts of life, like childbirth and you know, monthly, you know, periods and stuff, we deal with blood and gore and pain and agony more than anybody. I mean, if we're going to talk about it, we're ready to get.
Yep. My wife tells me every day.
Don't get me started.
I mean, me and Bex are often having this conversation because people say to us, have more female authors on. Talk about female characters more. And our reply is always, we have authors on. We don't really sort of necessarily want to pick male or female authors. We just pick authors.
Yeah.
And
But what's your default going to be, though, dear heart? I mean, the default will be male. And the reason why that happens is because men get a bigger push even by the readership. I remember, I'm not going to name the event, but one year I went to an event and Barnes & Noble was there and they sold like 35, 40 of my books. They nearly sold out of the stock they took. I was signing the whole time. I had line. People were excited to see me. I went the next year and they invited a male author. I was completely ignored. Everybody went to the male author. I only had a few people come up to my table, and when they did, they said some pretty disparaging things. And I mean, I even had a woman say to me before she went over to his table to buy his book, was, I only read adult books.
Oh.
How rude.
Yeah. So even in that situation, and later on, you know, and this author is actually my friend. I love him. He's one of the best people in the industry. You know, I told him what I went through, and he was horrified. But when they had a choice between the female author and the male author, they just went straight to the male author. And it's not that they went to both of us; they just went to him. And it was, and the year before, when I was there by myself, I was the only author. I was swarmed.
Why do you think that is? Why is that our default? I mean, as you just asked me the question, your default is male, and it probably was. I mean, that's the reason we had so many male authors on. Well, why do we do that?
I mean, to be honest, like in my opinion, just to kind of put it in an answer, Rhiannon's question there, because I'm like that. Before I started this podcast, before I kind of became more immersed in the zombie community as of kind of nearly a year ago now, I'd only ever read male zombie authors. I'd never ever heard of female authors. And it's only from doing this that I've recognised that actually the most amazing female horror writers out there.
I think a lot of it has to do with that there's been genres that have been male dominated for years and years, and one of them is science fiction and the other one is horror. And I think there's like this belief that women can't write in those genres, that we're supposed to be regulated to romance. And I mean, like the question you asked me, well, did you think of writing in any other genre, is one I'm most often asked, but male authors are not often asked that one. And I think people expect us to say, oh, I'm going to write a romance novel. And the reality is a lot of us do, because it's not to say that shows a weakness in our writing. It doesn't. I mean, romance writers are good writers. I mean, there's some excellent books out there, but some women will find a lot more success writing a romance novel than they will writing horror, because people will see a female name on a horror book and not pick it up, but they'll pick up a romance novel written by a woman. And men write under female names for romance novels, but people always expect me to say, oh, I'm going to write a romance novel. And I mean, I write about romantic love in my books, and I mean, sex, love, friendship, familial ties are major reasons to fight to live. I mean, you know, and I've had men say to me, well, I just didn't really like The Last Mission of the Living because, you know, there's a love story in it. I'm like, are you married? Yes. Do you love your wife? Yes. Would you do anything to save your wife's life? Yes, of course I would. Then why don't you like romance?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that And the thing is, men can write about romance. Robert Kirkman writes about romance all the time in The Walking Dead. He can have The Walking Dead's a soap opera.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to knock him for it,
Yeah,
because he's a man. So when a man writes about sex and love and all that kind of stuff, it's gritty, it's realistic, it's from the heart. When a woman writes it, it's, Mills and Boone.
Yeah. Wow.
So true.
Hey, well, I've had some home truths this evening.
You have.
But I think we default to thinking men are going to be grittier and harder and in your face.
Oh,
and they're going to
no.
punch you. I mean, I remember this one guy had me on his podcast and he read As the World Dies and he sent me a message. He goes, "Oh my God." He says, "You really write well for a girl." He meant it as a compliment.
Oh,
Oh
that's
my
such
God.
a backhanded compliment.
And I got that he meant it as a compliment, but damn, does that knife deep.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I had a Vietnam veteran years ago send me a message and goes, I'm a jerk. I'm known as a jerk. People hate me. They don't want to come onto my property. They know I have guns. They know I have dogs. I'm a mean guy. I am mean. He's like, you had me up in the middle of the night, making sure all my guns were loaded, turning on every light in the house, double checking all my locks and my windows, making sure my dogs were secure. I was scared out of my wits. He's like, good job. And I was like, but the fact that people go, oh, she's a girl, she's not capable of eliciting those feelings. I want to make you feel like when you read my books, I want you to experience things alongside my characters, like their reason for living, their reason for fighting, their fears. I mean, if you love somebody and you're in an apocalypse, holy cow, you've got so much more to lose.
Yeah.
You have so much more to lose than that lone gunman going across the desert, if you're trying to keep your children alive, then that just ups the ante even more. I mean, I've had people tell me, if the zombie apocalypse ever happens, I hope my children are dead because all I'll do is try to protect them. And I'm like, I would rather have that as a reason to live.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but my nieces and my nephews, I would rather have people I love around me, so I would have a reason to live. Otherwise, it'd be really easy to check out if things were that.
What would be the point in carrying on if you haven't got your loved ones with you anyway? What's it all for?
I think women sometimes when we write about horror, those are the things we're talking about. We're talking about that fear of losing everything. And sometimes when guys write horror, not all of them, I really want to state this very clearly, not all male horror writers do, but a lot of times they concentrate on the gore, the violence, the heroics, the male character. That's kind of where their attention is. And even sometimes when male writers try to write women, they're just men with boobs,
Yeah.
So I think, but at the same time, I don't want to knock men writers because some of them are great at writing women. I mean, I think Joe McKinney, who wrote Dead City, is great at writing women. And so, I mean, and some of my brethren in the zombie genre have been amazing. Jonathan Mayberry, like I said, Joe McKinney, Timothy Long. These are guys who've been really there for me and encouraging from day one.
That's amazing. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Rhiannon. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to say before we check out and say goodbye?
Gonna plug anything?
Yeah, of course. Plug away.
As the World Dies trilogy is available, in paperback and in Kindle. You can go to my website, rhiannonfrater.com, and you can see all the different books I've written. I'm both self-published and published through Permuted Press and Tor. And I've got a zombie series that's going on right now that's geared for the 10 and up, but I've had a lot of adults love this book. And the first one's The Living Dead Boy, and it's free. So you can download it for free. And the second one is already out, and I'm working on the third. And so it's from the viewpoint of children and kids, how kids see things totally different and react totally different. And I don't back down on I make it so that 10-year-olds can read it, but at the same time, it's still got the violent, the gore quotient. It's still, if you have a vivid imagination, you'll get where I'm going with certain descriptions.
I've just finished The Living Dead Boy, and it's really good.
It was a lot of fun to write, and the sequel's a lot of fun. And I mean, it's still scary. I feel bad for these kids. I'm putting them through, There was a mom whose child was in surgery, and he went into surgery, and he was in the recovery room, and his favorite book is The Living Dead Boy. So his mom had The Living Dead Boy, and she's sitting there, and she's reading it out loud to him. He's in the recovery room with another little boy. The other little boy's in the bed next to him. So she's reading and going along, and all of a sudden she hears the other little boy go, "Mom, pay attention to me and not the book."
That's amazing.
Yeah, Poppy would love The Living Dead Boy. Honestly, get her to read it. It's brilliant. It's totally suitable.
Yeah, oh, amazing. Fantastic. Yeah, it's next on my daughter's list, so hopefully she'll be the next one shouting at me to pay attention. Rhiannon, it's been a real pleasure having you on. You've probably been one of my favourite guests of all time, just mainly because it's no work for us. We've just let you talk and you've told us your story, which is amazing. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that was an incredible interview.
It really was, actually. What a great guest.
Yeah, we're really, really lucky to have such amazing authors get in touch with us from across the zombie apocalypse.
I mean, to be fair, we're all lucky they've all survived this long.
Yeah, we certainly are. I mean, we know why, as Rhiannon said. I'm starting to understand now, Bex, what you're getting at. If there are more people out there like Rhiannon, well, we can't have hell on earth, if that makes sense. So obviously, if there's people like Rhiannon who exist and they're surviving and they're alive, then it's worth it, isn't it?
Well, that's it. You know, they can only win if we let them win.
Too true. Talking of winning, nice segue there. Talking of winning, we have a competition starting soon.
We do. You never tell me this shit.
Oh, it's because I'm making up as I go along.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought.
Anyway, the competition, it's going to be over on our Facebook page. We haven't started it yet. It's going to be like we did before, you know, one of those like, comment, share deals. So we'll put the details up there and you've got to like, comment and share.
Does that mean I get to say like, comment, share again?
Yes. It means you get to say it quite a lot again.
So, what's the prize? Is it wine? I hope it's wine because I've run out.
Oh, no, it's not wine. Although the lack of wine probably explains the mood you're in today. Are you hallucinating at all?
What is it then? The prize.
No.
We shall skirt over that.
All will be revealed. It will include a sort of bunch of stuff. So there's going to be books. We've got some books from some of the authors who we've got on here as guests. So some of those. So it's going to be like a bundle. Remember we did like a bundle before. We gave you a big box of books. But so
yeah.
There's going to be books, and there's going to be my book. You remember my book? The Z clause, the Z clause, Z clause.
What, you wrote a book?
I wrote a book. I didn't know if you know, but I wrote a book. It's called the Z clause. It's part 1. There's part 2 on the way. I'm going to be plugging that later in the year. And there's going to be some GMZ merch. So we have merch. So that's
hang on. GMZ merch. We've got merch.
We've got merch. So I got Alan the Demon, and some of his demon pals to whip us up some merch in the nether regions. So we'll be giving.
I don't know if I want it if it's been in the nether regions.
It was whipped up in the nether regions. So we're going to give some of that away, hopefully.
That is awesome. So loads of books, some GMZ merchandise. I suppose, you know, we can always use your book to keep warm. Shove it in my fire.
Unfortunately, you'd be disappointed. There's barely enough pages to keep an tiny itty bitty body part warm.
Well, some people only have an itty bitty body part to keep warm.
Too true.
So we have a competition. We have merchandise.
Yes.
You have a book, albeit very, very, very tiny. Anything else you want to tell me?
Not really, mate. Obviously, you can keep in touch. Not you personally, because you can keep in touch just by talking to me. But other people can keep in touch. They can keep in touch via Facebook. We have a Facebook group. We have a Facebook page. We have Twitter, so you can go tweet upon us. We have an Instagram, so you can Instagram upon us. So you can do that.
Just don't twat us.
Don't twat us. I get enough twatting at home, thank you.
So there you go, people. Go over to those things, those social media type things. Keep in touch. We have more huge guests coming up, some more zombie authors, and do you know what? We've actually got some actors from some actual zombie films and TV programs.
I know, so much to look forward to. I'll tell you what, Bex, you're right. We are positive and happy and looking forward to life. Things might not be too bad after all.
I know, it'll be great until you fuck it up.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Okay, is that it for today? Are we done? Is there anything else to share with our intrepid listeners?
Actually, yes. Why don't you guys get in touch with us? Send us your emails, your pictures, not dick pics, thanks Alan. Videos, audio, just get in touch, let us know you're surviving. We can play them on the podcast, we can read them out, you know, things like that. So
yeah, you can definitely get in touch. I think you should. It'd be brilliant. And the email is
wineandgiggles@gmail.com.
Yep, that's wineandgiggles@gmail.com.
hit us up.
Oh, it actually reminds me, we had an email. I forgot to tell you. It's from our favourite listener of all time.
Scarlett's been in touch. Yay.
Yeah. Would you like to know what she said?
Of course, I want to fucking know what she sent.
All right, I can't do Scarlett's voice, so I'm just gonna read it out. Hi y'all. Welcome
Hi,
back.
y'all.
Hi y'all. Welcome back. I thoroughly enjoyed your last podcast. Is she talking to us? Was she
I
listening?
think so. Sure, yeah, well, obviously.
Despite our little tiff, Skid Mark. Oh no, it's definitely. Despite our little tiff, Skid Mark, I actually found myself missing you over the break. I am particularly enchanted with Selena. She sounds absolutely lovely. I wonder, if you talk to her again, might you ask if she would care to swap spreadsheet tips? I'm thinking of starting up the sex work again. Tips, spreadsheet tips.
Spreadshirt tits.
Spreadshirt tits. Ah, dear. I've lost my place in the email now. I'm thinking of starting up the sex work again, and Selena seems like she's pretty business savvy. Pre-Zompoc. Pre-Zompoc, I was pretty good at managing all the paperwork, but the world is different now. New challenges to overcome. Also, I was wondering if you could ask her if she's interested in sucking women's souls. If so, might want to volunteer. All the best, Scarlett. Oh, so she wants...
Yeah. She wants Selena to suck her soul.
I didn't know Scarlett was a woman, who
was interested in women sucking her soul.
I didn't know she was that type. I remember she made a move upon...
Each their own.
She made a move upon Rob at one time, and she was enchanted with Alan. But it seems like Selena might be more her speed.
I think she's just greedy. Is our Scarlett? She just wants them all.
She does. I mean, that's the thing with the Southern woman, isn't it?
Yeah, just want everything.
I shouldn't have said that. Rhiannon's going to be on the phone going, "You sexist pig." No,
that's it. You've just pissed off the whole of the south of America.
I did. I was being facetious, deliberately facetious. Nothing more than that. So yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Are we done?
Yeah, is that all the news?
Well, maybe.
I'm struggling to keep positive now. Well, what?
Do you think we should tell the listeners about our secret project?
Oh, I'm not sure we're ready for that.
Oh, fuck it, Beck. Let's just do it. Let's just tell them.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Well, remember in the old days, before the Zompoc, there used to be like Saturday morning TV?
Of course.
Yeah, well, we're going to start to bring some of that back. So we get lots of emails from people. Most of them are swearing at us, some of them telling us about zombie penis. But some of them ask serious questions, and some of them say we should have more entertainment, not just interviews and not just me and Bex talking. We should have actual entertainment, some sort of, I don't know, entertainment show. So that's what we're going to do.
So tell them what it's called.
It's called Zombies in Space.
That's all we can say for now, and the rest is absolutely top secret.
Yeah. Well, I think that really is it for today. Thank you to our beautiful, incredible, amazingly talented, and forthright and intelligent, and sometimes I'm just so creepy to our guests,
just
aren't I?
such a suck up.
I know, but she was amazing. So thank you to our...
You've been taking sucking tips from Alan.
I know, but I on this occasion, I know all previous occasions I'm just sucking up, but on this occasion, this one and only occasion, Rhiannon was actually an amazing guest. So
she was.
So I'd like to thank her because she was incredible.
Yep. Thank you, Rhiannon. Thank you for taking the time out from killing lots of zombies to share some time with us.
And thank you, Bex. It's good to hear you in such a positive mood. It's refreshing. I mean, I've listened to you last week, especially. You was gloomy, but this week it's been a brighter, positive, and wonderful Bex. So long may it last.
Cheers, dude.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for participating. Remember to get in touch and remember to stay safe.
And remember to kick ass.
Bye-bye.
Bye.